Alright, so the engine's started up, everything's coming up normally. Oil pressure looks good, we've done the flight control check, the flaps are set for takeoff, the cow flaps are open, the trim is set. GPS is programmed, we're going to just start a nice slow taxi. So welcome to the airplane. This is a 1990 36 Bonanza made by a company called Beechcraft. And yesterday in our dial-a-pilot class, in which we talk about some of the aspects of flying to help people overcome their fear of flying, we talked about threat and error management, crew resource management, how the pilots are kind of analyzing things as we go, trying to mitigate threats before they happen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Threats for today. I feel good personally. I slept well last night. Going down to go to work actually out of San Francisco. I'm flying to Beijing later today. So that's a threat just as far as a little bit of get there-itis. So I'm just going to make sure that I go nice and slow and not force the flight for any reason if something starts to break as far as, a maintenance issue on the airplane. And of course, a threat would also be the fact that I got the video set up and I'm filming this, talking through things. That's not necessarily typical, so there will be times when I'll stop talking and actually focus on the flying. Not to say that I'm not focusing on the flying the whole time, but it's a threat, so it's worth pointing out. So, other than that, airplane's in good shape. Really good weather today. It's been rainy here in California for the last couple weeks, but it's finally clearing up. And weather all the way down to the Bay Area looks really nice today, so it should be a beautiful day to go fly. I see some other traffic taxiing out, and we'll see where they end up going. But I'm going to go to runway 25 and do our run up here, and we'll be on our way. Alright, taxi lights off. So we're flying out of Auburn, California, just to the east of Sacramento, up there at the top right, and down to San Carlos, which is just a few miles to the south of San Francisco International Airport. The temporary flight restrictions on our direction of flight today. There is one over the Beale Air Force Base, which is this red area that you can see up here next to Yuba City. And that just means that you have to have a special clearance to go into that area. Sometimes temporary flight restrictions pop up for a number of reasons. Presidential movements, things of that nature, air shows. This yellow one down here is getting ready to go active. That's for an air show down at Travis Air Force Base. So anyways, beautiful day for flying, just letting the oil temperature warm up here a little bit.
Auburn Air Traffic Helicopter CHP 20 is repositioning the fuel island to helicopter parking via Alpha.
Alright, mixture's coming up, power's coming up. We'll do our run up now. Just checking the engine operation. The right magneto. Left magneto. Back to both. Cycle the propeller. One more. Back to idle. Alright, engine's in good shape. I'm going to do my flow one more time. So what we'll do is we'll actually flow, make sure everything's set up the way we want to, and then we go in and back it up with the checklist. So the fuel's on the left tank. Both tanks are full, so we're going to leave it on the left tank. The cow flaps are open. The trim is set for takeoff, and our switches are to go. Make sure to go, air conditioning is already off. So now we'll go to the checklist, which is right there. We'll reset that. Magnetos are on both. That's checked. Flaps are up. Desired up is set. Mixture is to go. Air conditioning is off, and the trim is set for takeoff. Before takeoff checklist is complete, we are ready to go. I got 6,500 set in the altitude window. We're navigating to the right fix. We got NorCal approach in the standby on COM 1, meaning that's who we're going to talk to next. Nobody's in the area as far as traffic. Auburn traffic, Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango departing runway 25, straight out departure at Auburn. And the old wave, lights are coming on. Doors are closed. No traffic on final, no traffic on base. I don't see anybody on the screen either. And Auburn traffic, Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango, correction, will be a left crosswind departure, Auburn. The doors and windows are closed. We are ready for departure. The mixture's coming full rich. That completes the before takeoff checklist. Helicopter that just moved, I have him in sight. He's down at the helicopter pad. All right, the runway is ours. Power comes up. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed's live. To accelerate, we're looking for 73 knots. There's 60. There's 73. With rotation, we're climbing out. Out of usable runway, the landing gear comes up. Into the runway here at Auburn, we make a 20-degree left turn for noise abatement.
Auburn, Cessna 5 to Quebec, departing 25, left turn out, Auburn.
Hit my map in just a little bit. What a beautiful day for flying. Alright, power's coming back to the climb power. We're going to set that with the throttle at 25 inches of manifold pressure, as well as the RPM, 2,500 RPM. Our traffic, Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango is departing to the south, last call at Auburn. One of the smoothest days I've seen in a while. It is beautiful up here. All right, we're on our way. Let's call NorCal approach. NorCal, good morning. Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango, VFR request.
Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango, NorCal.
NorCal, Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango is just off of Auburn, 3,000, climbing 6,500 VFR San Carlos.
November 2 Charlie Tango, squawk 4521.
4521, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango.
November 6 Sierra, climb maintain 12,000.
Up to 12,000, 6 Sierra.
November 2 Charlie Tango, ready to contact 4 southwest of Auburn, Sacramento altimeter 3020, state current altitude.
3020, climbing through 3,600 for 6,500, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango.
Thank you. Oxford 1948, contact departure 125.4.
25.4, Box 1940.
Delta 703, contact Oakland Center 127.905.
2795, Delta 703, good day.
November 6 Sierra, climb maintain flight level 190.
Up at 190, 6 Sierra.
Southwest 409, contact Oakland Center 119.75. Good morning. Southwest 409, contact Oakland Center 119.75.
1975, South 409.
So during the climb out, there's a couple different things I'm looking at. I'm managing the engine power, and for us, we do that with the manifold pressure, which is how much air is coming into the engine. That's using the throttle. The RPM, which is how fast the propeller's actually spinning, we use the propeller control for that. That's the blue one here.
November 6 Sierra, climb maintain flight level 230.
And then the mixture is actually how much fuel is going into the engine
contact Oakland Center
compared to the amount of air going in. So I'm monitoring some engine instruments down here, checking the what we call cylinder head temperatures to make sure that they're staying in the appropriate range. It's a nice cool morning today. We're climbing pretty fast, 130 knots, indicated airspeed. and that's keeping the engine nice and cool. We're just climbing up to 6,500.
1060, contact Capital Tower 125.7.
Which that's going to take us, we got about 1,000 more feet to go, and then once we get to that altitude, we're going to change the power setting once again, set up for cruise flight.
Southwest 1669, I'm in now to maintain, follow 190. I'm sorry, follow 180.
180, Southwest 1669.
Thank you.
And then from there, you're going to see me start to go into some airspace planning stuff, and I've done this flight quite a few times, but we'll talk our way around the airspace that we're actually flying through, because as you go to different airports, they have different airspace in each area, depending on how busy the airport is, in order to keep the little airplanes away from the big airplanes, and even to keep the big airplanes away from the big airplanes as well. So some important stuff there. Like as you'll see off the right side of the airplane here, this little purple area, that's the Sacramento International Class Charlie airspace. That's the second largest airports in the nation. And once we get down towards San Francisco, you're going to see the Class Bravo airspace. A lot bigger, a lot more complicated to deal with. And then there's some other airspace here. Smaller airports you can actually see up on the screen potentially. That's a Class Delta. And you can see that right here, that blue dashed line. And that goes around Sacramento's Mather Airport. Not as much traffic, but still a little bit of traffic requiring a traffic control tower.
190 and contact Oakland Center 127.905. Connect.
Number 190 and 2795, Southwest 1669.
So each one of those...
NorCal departure, Flight 1403, 1,900 climbing 3,000, direct Progo.
451403 NorCal departure, ident, climb maintain 9,000.
9,000, Flight 1403.
451403, ready to contact 3 south of Lincoln, Sacramento altimeter is 3021.
3021, 1403.
One of those types of airspace means something different to us as far as how we navigate around it, over it, through it, all of those things. And air traffic control does a really good job of helping us navigate those things, especially going into somewhere like a Class Bravo airport. It can get quite busy going in somewhere like that. So here's our 6,500. We're going to level the airplane off. We're going to close the cowl flaps, which helps with cooling of the airplane. I'm sorry, the engine. And also allows us to accelerate the airplane a little bit. So at this point, I'm going to select direct to in the GPS, turn the autopilot on. Autopilot's now flying the airplane. As we accelerate, I will start to adjust the engine power. Bring the RPM back, about 2,300 RPM.
1450 NorCal, Sacramento altimeter is 3021.
So if you were in the airplane, you could actually hear the engine noise changing just a little bit. The engine
And flight
slows
1450,
down.
you can expect
more of a
13000 as your
flight.
final as you're getting closer to the Hangtown VOR.
There's 2,300, and now we're going to change the mixture.
NorCal approach boxer
That's going to
1984,
help
departed
us set
northwest of
the
Mather.
appropriate
Climb
fuel
through
air mixture going
1,000.
into the engine.
600 for 4,500.
Boxer 1984, NorCal departure, ready to contact.
I'm looking up here to get to the approximate target fuel
3021,
flow,
Boxer
and then I'm going to go in and fine-tune it
451403,
down
climb
on this
maintain, follow
instrument
190.
here, looking at what's called our exhaust gas temperature. In a jet, which is what most of you are flying on typically, setting cruise power is a lot different than this. This is actually significantly more complicated. On a jet, it's a one lever thing. So we're now on the lean side of peak, meaning now the engine has reached its max performance. So I'm going to adjust it just a little bit here.
Southwest 3103.
Now a thread here, as we were talking about earlier, is that I'm getting
field
really
inspect.
fixated down here on this exhaust gas temperature on these engine instruments. So you'll see me looking up every once in a while, checking my altitude. Even though the autopilot's flying the airplane, which is a huge help, I need to monitor that autopilot. So we're still at 6,500, going the direction we want to go at an appropriate airspeed. Meaning we're keeping air flying over moving around the wing, keep the airplane actually flying, keep us away from that stall. So now,
4514
we'll call that power set. We're at 6,500. We'll switch fuel tanks. We're going to move over to the right fuel tank at this point in time.
451403, Oakland Center.
There's a fuel tank in each wing, one on the left, one on the right. And they cannot simultaneously feed on this airplane, so we have to swap back and forth.
Southwest 3103, cleavage approach.
That's what we just did. 6,500 once again. Airspeed is 165 knots true, which puts us at about 190 miles per hour. Our ground speed is 173 knots true because the wind is behind us, pushing us along. So we're actually doing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200 miles per hour. And we're on our way. A couple of things that I can look at here is our glide. So this kind of mint green ring, if you will, I'm not sure what exact color that is, shows if we had an engine out at this point in time, given the glide parameters of this airplane, where we could glide to. So for me, I always like to look and say, okay, where can I glide to at any given time should the engine fail? And so right now, any airport within this circle is in gliding distance. So we have McClellan at the north side. Rio Linda even is up at the north side as well. We got Sacramento Executive right in front of us. That's a really good option for us. And we have Mather Airport, which is just behind me to the left. I can actually see it. Also a good option for us. So as we cruise through the flight, I'm always keeping an eye on this too, making sure that we have options for us. I'm keeping myself updated on the weather. So these little green dots mean that that's what we call visual flight rules. So the weather is good there.
November 2 Charlie Tango, change of our frequency 125.25.
125.25, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango.
Southwest 3103, contact Capital Tower 125.7.
That's our frequency change, so we're going to talk to that same controller.
3521, flight 160, descend to maintain 3000.
160 heading down to 3000, Southwest 3520.
Okay, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango, 6,500.
2 Charlie Tango, make you.
All right. We're on our way. My iPad doesn't have service at the moment. We'll probably pick it up later, but I was trying to pull up the actual weather at Sacramento Executive. It wasn't working there, but what I can do is pull it up here, and it's showing us winds are calm, visibility is 10 miles, which is the maximum that we report here in the United States. Sky is clear, temperature of 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Altimeter is 3019
Southwest
inches of mercury, which is just about the same as what we're experiencing now.
3000.
I get my armrest to work here. There we go. So we'll just keep an eye on that the whole way down as we work our way down.
114 traffic, 2 north of you, southbound, altitude indicates 2,700.
Are these little blue areas that are the Class Bravo airspace going into San Francisco. So that magenta line that runs right through the middle there, that actually takes us through the Class Bravo airspace. Now what we're going to do is actually stay below it. So you'll see this 7,000 and 10,000. And what I really should say is the 100 over the 70, and that means that top altitude, the airspace goes up to 10,000 feet, and the bottom altitude, the airspace goes down to 7,000 feet within that shelf. Now the next one over, you'll see 10,000 to 5,000. So that to us pilots means
Check 114, thank you.
The airspace is between those altitudes, and we can actually fly below it. For example, in this area, if we're at 6,500, which is our current altitude, we'll be below that Class Bravo. So as we fly into San Carlos, I'm going to stay below that. So you're going to see me referencing this a lot to ensure that I'm actually staying at the appropriate altitudes as we work our way in. A couple different ways that you can go into San Carlos. You can go over Oakland, which is right up here, and fly over this long runway. And then you can continue over to the mid-span of the San Mateo Bridge, which is this VP mid here. And then you can make your turn into San Carlos. The issue with that I don't like is you have to stay really low. You're somewhere between 1,500 feet and then down to 1,200 feet even as you're working your way in. You're over the water for a long time. I personally don't really like that. I like to stay as high as I can when I'm over the water. And in fact, I actually bring a little PFD, a personal flotation device with me. It's just, again, out of an abundance of caution. I like to be careful. As you know, one of those things that rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So that's one option that you can do. You can fly over Oakland, fly over the water. But I'm actually going to go a little bit to the east today, go over the Hayward area, and then work our way in. You can see that my water distance here is only 3.4 miles compared to about 10 miles should I fly over Oakland. So for me, it makes a lot more sense to take a little tiny bit of a time penalty, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, to actually stay over land for a longer period of time. So that's what I always do when I fly into San Carlos. Seems to work out pretty well. But the approach controllers will definitely help us out there as well and tell us what they need us to do. So once again, we're just on our way. Now, while we've got the time, something interesting to talk about is checklist usage. So in the airline world, we do our checklists a little bit different, but there's 2 crew members on board. And so that makes a drastic difference in how we operate the airplane. Now, I try and operate this airplane very similar to an airline flight deck as much as I can for a number of reasons. I think it increases safety if I'm doing the same thing I am at work as I'm doing in the airplane here. But checklist usage is one of those big differences, actually. And so what I mean by that is you saw during the before takeoff phase of flight, I actually did a before takeoff checklist. So I went through, I did a flow, meaning I made sure that the fuel was on the correct tank, the cowl flaps were open, the trim was set for takeoff, which just changes the amount of pitch needed during the takeoff roll, and all of our switches up here were set. And then I go through and back it up with the checklist, meaning I go through, read it, yep, I did that, it's checked, check it off on the iPad, off we go. Now that's a really good thing to do in a before takeoff checklist when we're sitting on the ground, we're not moving, I can hold the brakes, nothing's happening fast in that moment. Now what you're going to notice is as I work my way into San Francisco, or really in this case San Carlos, I'm going to get myself set up, meaning I've already set the GPS up, I'm going to calculate my descent points here, and we step down and descend a little bit different than we normally would just because, again, of that airspace that we've talked about. But you're going to notice that I'm not actually going to reference a checklist as we work our way in. Now, I do have the checklist right here. I have a paper copy. I also have the iPad copy. And more so what I have this one for is the emergency checklist. So if something should happen, I got this emergency checklist right here. Because I'm not doing these emergency procedures every single day, I want to know exactly what they are, be able to remind myself quickly. Now, as we work our way into San Carlos, especially for something like the before landing checklist, I'm going to do what's called a flow, and there's an acronym to actually remember what that is.
NorCal, Cherokee 42363, 5,500.
Cherokee 42363, NorCal approach, Sacramento, 3021.
3021.
Got a gyro warn light. Let's see anything about that here. So this is a great example of a threat. Now the gyro warning normally comes on at low power on the engine, but we also don't have instrument air going on, which is fine because we're all digital now. We don't have vacuum, with the exception of potentially the autopilot. Keep an eye on the autopilot here to make sure it's operating as expected.
125.1.
125.1, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Traps approach, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango 6,500.
2 Charlie Tango, got approach, altimeter Stockton 3019er.
3019er, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Alright, so gyro warn lights on. I got plenty of time before the airspace in San Francisco to deal with. We're at 6,500, the autopilot's still flying the airplane just fine. It is bouncing around a little bit on the altitude, but we're going to go to the pilot's operating handbook and see what it has to say about the gyro warn light. Now again, setting up to make sure that the airplane is actually flying itself. I'm keeping my head up intermittently with heads down. Make sure that it's doing exactly what I expect it to do. Tell the autopilot's kind of fishing here a little bit. I'm going to let it keep doing its thing here for a few minutes, but I do anticipate that I will need to take over here when time allows. losing that attitude indicator on the right side, it looks like. Actually quite hard to tell. Alright, standby gyro's on. That light went out. The amber light comes on.
421 Echo Romeo, good morning.
Alright, so we just learned about the system there. So we got the standby gyro P on. Instrument air has come back. The gyro warn light has gone out, so it looks like we had a failure of the primary instrument air system, which again is fine because we're using all digital at this point in time. This says, and this is an important thing, if instrument air pressure system failure occurs during IFR conditions, land as soon as practical. Flight may be continued to the destination if it can be conducted in VFR conditions prior to the next flight. Cause of the malfunction should be determined and corrected. So, we are in visual flight conditions. Not intend to go into instrument flight conditions. And once again, we're all on a digital system here, so we're in good shape. Now, that's something that I'll have to talk to my mechanic about when we get back, but that was a perfect example of something happening that was completely unexpected, and managing the threat is important. Managing your heads down time, your heads up time, that's something that I haven't looked at.
Charlie Tango, con to the approach 125.35.
2535 Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Admittedly, in some time, so that was an interesting one to get. So I'm glad that happened. As far as being able to actually go through the procedure to figure out what was going on, we got that all sorted out, and now we're going to talk to NorCal Approach. NorCal Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango 6500 beginning our VFR descent.
November 882 Charlie Tango, NorCal Approach, Oakland altimeter 3023.
3023 Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Alright, the altitude mode is coming off on the autopilot. We're going to start descending here. Power's going to come back just slightly. We're descending for that Class Bravo airspace once again, and I'm going to swap back to the left fuel tank.
So 3704, contact Oakland Tower 17.2. Have a good day, South 3704.
As I was mentioning earlier, as far as the checklist usage goes, what we're going to do on our descent is, in order to minimize that heads down time, I'm going to use an acronym called GUMPS, which stands for gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop, and switches and seatbelts. As we descend our way into San Carlos, that's the checklist that I'm going to use. So I'm going to flow everything, and you're going to hear me do the GUMPS check multiple times to make sure that everything is configured as expected. That's going to include the flaps, which I will include in the switches part of the checklist, the landing gear, which is right here, which is the wheels that come out from underneath the airplane, allowing us to actually land. So that's what you're going to see me do a little bit different here. Now, we just ran a checklist that was associated with that failure that we just had of the gyro, which is instrument air over here, and that was a really good checklist for us to have on board, because that's something that almost never happens. And so for me to have that checklist available to me was really important. So now I'm descending here and working my way below that 5,000 foot shelf as we approach, and we got about 600 feet to go until we're at that point. Actually going to turn the autopilot off.
Approaching 244 Mike, Phenom 500 Romeo Bravo is at 8,900 for 7,000 with Oscar.
November 500 Romeo Bravo, NorCal Approach, please direct Jobus, intercept the final.
Jobus, intercept final 500 Romeo Bravo.
And for Southwest 649, we're going to get cleared for the approach.
So 6490, sorry, I thought I already gave you at Franny clear Dallas runway 30 approach.
At Franny clear Dallas 30, Southwest 6490, thank you.
All right, there's below our 5,000 for this shelf here, and then we're going to keep working our way down to 3,500, which is below the 4,000 foot shelf. That's at our 12 o'clock, and about 3 miles.
Brazil Romeo Bravo, cross Joba Center above 5,700, cleared straight in RNAV runway 28 left approach.
Hey, Joba Center above 5,700, clear for the RNAV 28 left, 500 Romeo Bravo.
Southwest 6490, contact Oakland Tower 127.2.
Good morning, Southwest 6490.
Carlos, we're going to get the 125.9.
Information Oscar 1447 Zulu, wind calm, visibility 10 miles, few clouds 3,700, temperature 82.5, altimeter is 3023. Expected GPS approach runway 30, all IFI aircraft contact ground control, 10 minutes prior to taxi, 5 far departure clearance. Advise initial contact, give information Oscar. San Carlos Airport information Oscar 1447 Zulu, wind calm, visibility 10 miles, few clouds 3,700, temperature 82.5, altimeter is 3023. Expected G.
Alright, we've got information Oscar.
November 2 Alpha Zulu, turn 10 degrees left, vectors for traffic.
10 degrees left, 2 Alpha Zulu.
Brazil Romeo Bravo, reduce speed at 200 or less.
Low and 500 Romeo Bravo.
0 Romeo Bravo traffic, 12 o'clock, 6 miles, should be turning to go off your right hand side of Skyline at 4,700 climbing.
Yeah, we'll be looking at 500 Romeo Bravo.
So we're going to go into the 3,000 foot shelf next,
November
and then
2
the
Alpha Zulu
2,300 foot
traffic, 2
shelf.
o'clock,
So we're going to work our way down slowly,
miles,
down to about
6,000,
2,100,
sending
working
to
our way
Hayward,
over to what we call cement
Okay,
plan.
to Alpha
And
Zulu.
you'll likely hear air traffic control tell me to report cement plan. We work our way inbound. I'm just in a real slow descent right now.
And NorCal, FedEx 12 Heavy with you, leveling 5,000.
FedEx 12 Heavy, NorCal approach, Roger, expect ILS 30.
ILS 30, FedEx 12 Heavy, thanks.
November 2 Charlie Tango, contact San Carlos Tower.
Over to San Carlos Tower, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Tower's going to be on 19-0. San Carlos Tower, Bonanza 882 Charlie Tango's inbound with Oscar.
Bonanza 83 Charlie Tango, San Carlos Tower, report to cement plant, runway 30.
Report to cement plant, runway 30, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Alright, as expected. Now we'll get below this 3,000 foot shelf that we're approaching. So we're going to go through the 2,300 foot shelf and avoid that 1,500 foot shelf. That'll keep us nice and clear of all that stuff. I'm going to work my way down to about 2,100 feet now. Alright, here's that 2,300 feet, so we're below that shelf. I'm looking at the cement plant, that's where we're headed. Level off at 2,000 feet. Now once again, the standby gyro pneumatics light, that is atypical, so that is a threat as we go into land today. So I'm just going to make sure that even despite this light being on, the airplane obviously is in a safe condition, and I still run my checklists. And one of the important things to note here is when I talk about these things, I don't mean to be preachy about it at all. I very much mean it to say, hey, this is exactly what the threats are, and this is what can absolutely happen to me as far as landing with the gear up, not getting things right. So these are the different techniques and systems that I use in order to maintain that level of safety that I am looking for. Here's a United Airlines 777 coming on in. That is a super cool shot. Beautiful. Now wake turbulence could be a concern here as I work my way in. Bonanza, 2 Charlie Tango approaching cement plant.
November 2, Charlie Tango, runway 30, clear to land.
Runway 30, clear to land, Bonanza, 2 Charlie Tango. Alright, so now I'm going to get quiet here and just start working my way on in. Below the landing gear speed of 154 knots, landing gear comes down. I'm sorry, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Confirm clear to land, runway 30.
November 2, Charlie Tango, runway 30, clear to land.
Runway 30, clear to land, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Alright, taxi lights on. Pictures up, props up. Alright, the gas is on, the fullest tank, which is the left tank. The undercarriage is down with 3 green. The mixture set, the prop set. And flaps are coming to approach mode. We are clear to land, runway 30. The taxi light is back on. And landing flaps coming in since we're a little bit high. Alright, the gas is on, it's on the fullest tank. The undercarriage is down times 3 green. The mixture set, prop set, flaps are all the way set. Switches and belts are still on. Alright, fuel's on the fullest tank, which is the left tank. The undercarriage is down with 3 green.
500.
500 feet, we're stable. It's down, 3 green, flaps are full. Landing gear's down with 3 green. Landing gear's down, 3 green, flaps are full, we're clear to land, runway 30. Adding just a little bit of power. Bird. Landing gear's down, 3 green. Reducing power, landing gear's down.
Charlie Tango, taxi to park.
Taxi to parking, Bonanza 2 Charlie Tango. Alright, so we're going to exit the runway here. The left turn, I'm going to bring the airplane to a stop. And reconfigure. Try not to do this on the move for a number of reasons. Okay, flaps come back up. Trim is being set for the next departure. Cow flaps are open, landing lights off, wing ox landing, strobes are off. We'll turn standby gyro back off, set gyro warn lights back on, that's as expected. Alright, we're ready to taxi. Alright, we'll park the airplane right here. They're on the left and the right.